Seven Blue Skies channel presents Paranormal, Book 31, Part 4, Her Legend by Dr. Ahmed Khaled Tawfiq. And if you're enjoying these books, kindly like, subscribe, and comment to support this translation project and get notified about more content coming very soon. 7. The Seventh Victim. Her legend is that she is the smartest of women. In the morning we went together in the falling rain to call England. No need to insult the reader's intelligence by saying that we didn't sleep for a moment that night. We stayed sitting on the couch, exchanging questioning looks. One of us would fade and then wake up startled, mumble something, and then sit up straight again. And it seemed to us that the light of dawn was a redeeming sign. That's just my luck. A whole night alone with Maggie, but it was one of the darkest and most difficult nights of my life, of course. She entered the phone booth and began speaking. As for me, I rested my head on the glass of the booth and dozed off in the standing position, and I didn't even know that I had. I only woke up when I felt her tugging gently at my wrist. Ahead of me at the exit, she said, "You're really worn out, poor man." "Yeah, I am." "But you're good at hiding your weakness," she said, while getting into the car next to me. As I shifted gears, she told me, "I called Inspector Gearhart and told him what happened with the last phone call. He told me something I had expected." "Elizabeth died yesterday," I guessed. She smiled deviously and said, "Actually, Mary Clifford. Do you remember her? Mary was well deserving of being in my gang. But we had totally forgotten about her, but she was an essential part of our group. Actually, Elizabeth was more our colleague than a friend. And like that, the killer knows my gang better than me." Trying not to make eye contact, I asked her, "How was she murdered, with bullets or by being thrown from a height?" "Electrified," she replied. "2 naked wires in a full bathtub, with her in it, of course. That bastard is not short on imagination." And then her eyes widened in fear as she exclaimed, "Do you realize what this means? The killer was there in England. So who was following me here with the phone calls and threatening letter? It seems that Andrew now has a decent alibi. No court can convict him of killing Mary." "What are you trying to say?" "Exactly what you understood," she went on, "that the killer accosts his victims according to his own timing and means. He gets them in Japan or England or Greece or Egypt. He exists in 2 countries at the same time. A killer with these characteristics can't be from our world. He is a universal hunter, if that expression can fly." And she rested her forehead on her palm and murmured, "And today I will be the finale of this terrible series." I made my decision quickly, and maneuvered suddenly so as to shake any car that could be following us, and after ensuring no one was following me, someone human at least, I stopped and topped off the gas tank and drove on, leaving Cairo behind. Apparently my apartment has become known by all the killers in the world, so what's left is my home village, Kafr Badr. It's the most convenient place in which to hide Maggie. The situation is reversing now. Years ago, I left Kafr Badr to hide a Tibetan monk named Hin Shu Kan in my apartment. And today I'm doing exactly the opposite, returning to my village to hide a miserable Scottish beauty named Maggie MacKillop. The road was long and tiresome, but Maggie never spoke. I could not tell her honestly that I was secretly grateful for the circumstances which made me her last salvation in the world. For the first time, Maggie needed me as much as I needed her all my life. Maggie had totally ruined my life. Her picture haunted me whenever I considered getting engaged. And I had tried to liberate myself from her haunting, but she occupied all my thoughts and feelings. And at that point, everything would come crashing down. I dare say that Maggie is the reason for my strong cynicism and my intolerance of boredom, because I don't find her intelligence and rejuvenating spirit anywhere in my universe. Maggie is the reason for my depression and loneliness, and the cause of my distraction and tension. Psychologists used to say that a child being overly attached to his mother causes his failure of relationships with the opposite sex as an adult. And Maggie was a mother to me, a mother, sister, a friend, and a lover. It was impossible to find someone else like her, because there is only one. Maggie is the disease and the cure at once. And here she is now, and she needs me. She is actually in the depths of my world. She has seen my apartment and is about to see my sister and brother and my village. All of this is a dream, a beautiful dream. And even if I wake up from it at the sound of gunfire, Maggie's death doesn't worry me because I will definitely die before her. I know and believe this with certainty." Staring at the road, she asked, "What are you thinking about?" Looking at her from the corner of my eye, I answered, "I'm thinking that I'm only separated from happiness by 32 centimeters." Stretching her arm, she measured the distance between us and mumbled, "Actually, 40 centimeters. Your calculations are always wrong." Just like that, she had gotten my joke and responded to it with supersonic speed. "Oh, my dear angel, I won't be able to bear anything happening to you. I won't be able to bear it." And here is our old adobe house in the village. I got out of the car, ignoring some women who sat in front of their homes, cleaning rice and staring at me with curiosity. "Raifa!" I shouted, calling my sister. And I bent down to kiss the children who gathered around me, as I am their uncle who, unfortunately, forgot to bring them anything. The short time and my mood prevented it. "Mama, Uncle Rifat is here!" And I saw dear Raifa, with her kindness and beauty, running toward me to hug me. She kissed my hand, so I did likewise, kissing her sweet hand which smelled of a mixture of dough, garlic, onions, lard, and milk. The smell of my home, the smell of love. "You didn't tell me, but Talat—" "No worries," I interjected. "I'm not alone. I have a Scottish girl with me, a guest. I mean, she needs protection and—" Explaining the situation was pretty complicated, and I saw Raifa trying to understand, but she couldn't. I wasn't planning to stay here in the village with Maggie to prevent any potential gossip. I knew that Raifa would take good care of her and protect her, and if the killer is not from another world, as I had started to doubt, it's impossible for anyone to know that Maggie is here. "Rifat, is this the foreign girl you planned to marry?" my sister asked. "You know, Mom cried tears of blood instead of normal tears back then. Please, Rifat, it's better for you to marry a girl from your own country. How very naive and sensitive you are." Kissing her cheek, I told her, "It's not like you think. I'm just asking you to keep her safe. I just hope you can keep her here for 3 or 4 days." And I left her standing there and went outside to bring Maggie from the car. But she had already left the car. She stood looking at a family of ducks playing around a puddle of water, and the ducks looked back at her, surprised, unable to understand the reason for this blonde tourist's curiosity. And around Maggie I noticed a little riot of kids and pillars of curious women dripping poison and hatred from their eyes for no reason. And the kids repeating in a steady rhythm, "A foreign girl is here! A foreign girl is here!" Soon others showed up from the nearby streets, and even a kid passing by quickly on his donkey stopped and dismounted to see the circus more closely. And I didn't need this show. Pulling her by her arm as she played with the kids, making funny faces, I took her inside the house and shut the heavy door. "Rifat," she exclaimed, "they're so cute." "They consider you a circus attraction. The elephant man, the crocodile woman, the golden Scottish girl. And if I had a penny from everyone who looks at you, I would have been rich." I stood in front of Raifa, 2 women close in age, but from 2 different and distant cultures. "Maggie, this is my sister Raifa," I said in English, and then, in Arabic, "Raifa, this is Maggie." "Maggie?" Raifa asked, making sure while drying her hands on a towel. And she looked at Maggie's clothes in wonder. "Wow, she's really beautiful," she said, and reached to shake Maggie's hand and kissed her on the cheeks. Maggie looked surprised at this greeting, but she accepted it humbly. Leaving us to go inside, Raifa asked me, "And how will I talk to her?" "Everyone can understand using signs, Raifa. She's smart, and so are you. Plus, your daughter Ahlam is in 3rd grade and can understand a lot and help you." "Well, okay," Raifa replied, and then went silent for a moment, searching her mind for the next dilemma. And she asked me, "And where will she stay?" What a question. In my old room, of course. I left it long ago, and I think the fleas abandoned my bed shortly after I left. Plus, she'll be happy with everything here. Be sure of that. I just hope you won't put a lot of lard in the food, Raifa, so as not to give her diarrhea. I'll be back in 3 days at the max. Do you need anything? Ah, here's some money for accommodating her. You won't take it? Shyly, she looked at my outstretched hand, holding several bills, and mumbled while looking the other way. That's not right, brother. You've always been generous. Forcibly placing the money in her hand, I said impatiently, No time for chivalry, Raifa. Our sibling connection doesn't oblige you to host frightened Scots. I think I needn't tell you not to let her want for anything. And give my greetings to Talat. And I glanced at Maggie, a quick look, but it said everything. I'll be back in 3 days or less. Then Maggie asked me, Forever? What? Will you still love me forever? Until all the stars burn out, I promised. And until... But my tears were threatening to fall, so I rushed back to my car, headed back to Cairo. Finally, back in my apartment. It was 6 p.m. when I put the key in the door, and her perfume still filled the place, and the books she had been looking through still open on random pages. I couldn't believe all this was true. I'm living the best days of my life, and the worst. Isn't that strange? Anyway, there's nothing left but to keep my fingers crossed, as the Brits say, and wait for the night. Maybe this day will end peacefully. It may end with the death of Elizabeth, but it won't end with Maggie's death. It's practically impossible for the killer to find her, unless he is a ghost. I decided to return the books to their places and the cups to... That's strange. There were 2 cups of leftover tea on this table, and now there's only 1 cup with the dregs of tea, and the other one filled with a bit of water. Maggie didn't do that. She would go to the kitchen and drink directly from the bottle in the fridge. And here, an unfamiliar cigarette butt. I noticed it buried in the ashtray and knew it wasn't mine, nor was it Maggie's. A cigarette butt with a golden trim. Someone was here. Someone smoked a cigarette. He had looked for a cup to drink some water, but didn't find one, because I always have a shortage of cups in my apartment, and that forced him to wash one of the teacups to drink from. Someone was here. Was here? Maybe he's still here. There were signs pointing to that last possibility. The ashes from the cigarette were still warm. 8. The Falling, the Plumber, and Other Things. Her legend is that she never gets old. This time I won't play the role of a special forces guy from an American B-movie, for in this apartment a killer waits. Right, well, I have my gun with me, but the ability to kill is more important than the weapon. You need the will to kill. I've never fired at someone looking me in the eyes, and I don't think I ever will. And if it weren't for the grave dangers surrounding Maggie back then, I wouldn't have thrown the bottle of acid in Alfred's face at Loch Ness. So there's only one solution, retreating slowly to the door, opening it, reaching the landing, and screaming for the cops. Most important is not to be alone. Slowly, I retreated towards the door, looking left and right. Will he come from the kitchen passage? Or will he jump out from behind the couch? Or will he emerge from behind the bedroom door? Will he start by shooting or say something like, "Gotcha"? Will he give me a chance to open the door? There's nothing to indicate movement. Am I wrong? No, my sense tells me he's here, and also tells me, please hurry up and run. In the name of everything precious to you, please hurry. But running will freak me out even more. I don't want to lose my nerve. And here my hand was on the doorknob. I opened it. From the foyer, I stepped onto the dark landing and closed the door slowly. And now I have to scream or run down to the street. Well, why not lock the door from the outside and leave the key in the lock? That'll delay him for sure. It'll be difficult for this intruder to escape from the balcony or a window. He only has the door. And that will put him in a real bind. Hee 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 hee. I bent down to the keyhole and buried the key in it, and... Oh my God! 2 strong arms carried me from my armpits, and the sound of breathing. My gun fell to the floor and disappeared into the darkness. He was there, outside my apartment, not inside, waiting for my frightened escape. And now, here I am, falling into the trap. I tried to break free, but he was really strong. He was taking me to the railing, and before I could understand, I felt my lower back being pushed against the railing in a deadly attempt to throw me from this height. I saw my glasses falling. It took ages for them to reach the bottom of the stairs, and I heard the sound of them shattering. His hand grabbed my legs, trying to lift me, but I'm not the sort who leaves anything to chance. Grabbing his jacket collar, I clawed at him and sunk my fingernails into his arm, my grip like rigor mortis. I can't be beaten except by cutting off my hands. I could hear his heavy breathing and swears in English. How can someone breathe hard in English? I don't know, and I don't have the time to think. Hold on, Rifat. Don't lose consciousness. He won't get you as long as you're still conscious. Don't pass out. I felt him hit me over the head with his fist, trying to make me black out. I ducked under his fist and screamed at the top of my lungs, "Azat! Help! Someone help me!" How despicable is the dark! I am... A moment of weakness, but it was sufficient. And when my grip on his jacket loosened slightly, I felt like I was losing my balance and that underneath me was emptiness. Emptiness and nothing more. He had managed to throw me from a height. Even while falling, I didn't lose my power of observation. The notion came to me that movies are so unrealistic when depicting someone falling from a great height, filling the world with screams and flailing about. For me, the weirdness of this happening was enough for me to stay silent and fall like a stone thrown from a height. And I lost consciousness, of course. It was my time. Strange sounds and cold hands on my wrist, trying to take my pulse. And the light. All this light. A man with glasses and white hair announced, "He's okay. His pulse is back to normal now." The man saying this was a handsome young man wearing an official-looking uniform. "Did you see who threw you?" The voice of my neighbor, General Mohammed Halim, his hands in his fleece robe, came to me. "You're okay. You owe us your life." And I started to understand. General Halim had been changing the plumbing in his apartment, and the plumber had left some pipes protruding, their ends resting on the staircase railing. And he never imagined that someone would fall between the stairs like this just half an hour later. The ends of those pipes could have penetrated my body like an arrow piercing a Mongolian horse, but they actually saved my life, as my jacket got caught on them, and I became hung like a rabbit. Here the noise reached its peak, and the tenants left their apartments to see what was happening, to see old Rifat Ismail hanging from his jacket, unconscious, in the stairwell. It really was a humiliating scene. Maybe I would have preferred death over this. Anyway, they did see someone running down the stairs and leaving the building, and no one had tried to chase him. The plumber cleverly managed to tie ropes around my body and pulled me to safety with the help of some kids. It must have been an interesting scene. Oh, how I hate being the center of attention. My sole wish had always been to die peacefully in my bed, and I never wanted my death to be a Broadway show watched by anybody. My thanks to everyone for their performance. I told the police detective, "I don't know," in answer to at least 7 of his questions. Annoyed, he asked me, "So you think the guy threw you from upstairs, just for kicks?" Attempting to stand, I answered, "People have weird hobbies. Anyway, he knows the reason better than me." "Okay," he conceded, "but we want to continue this conversation with you tomorrow. If your state allows it, of course." And after asking the cops to search my apartment carefully, I went back to my flat. And I locked the door carefully and checked all the locks. I was in very bad shape. My suit was torn, the suit I bought especially for Maggie. My glasses were broken, and that means another financial burden, if, of course, I could even reach the optometry shop. My time hadn't come yet. That's all. My time hadn't come, unfortunately for the killer. I changed clothes and threw myself on the couch. I was breathing hard, the scene replaying over and over before my eyes. Then I got up, took a nitroglycerin pill, and where's my gun? It fell from me at the door when... No use looking for it, of course. The cops must have found it, or the killer. It doesn't matter. I'm not leaving my apartment again. My thoughts started flowing again. I had made a fatal error. I assumed that the chain of murders centered around Maggie's gang, yet I forgot that I am one of Maggie's gang. Maybe I presumed that the killer targeted only the Brits, and I forgot that if we count 7 of Maggie's friends, I must be among them. And if we count 5, I'm among them. And if we count 1, it would be me. I was the 7th. That's why the man snuck into my flat, found out my phone number, and left me a warning. And I thought all this was for Maggie. And now I can rest assured that I'm the 7th, so my little love isn't in danger. But the day is not over yet. It's 10 p.m. Would the man dare to repeat the attempt? Would he? I don't think so. What's important now is to call Copper Badge, to tell Maggie. But how? Calling the village will take more time and effort than even going to the village on foot, to give them my message by mouth. I relaxed a little and tried to gather my thoughts. Who is the killer? It's impossible to know. But he is able to be in Egypt and England at the same time. What a unique and talented human. I was thinking this while looking for my spare glasses. Ah, here they are. I am from Maggie's gang, so what did this gang do to deserve being killed? And why are the murders centered around Maggie? The killer wants to prevent her from whom she loves. So does he think that she prevented him from whom he loved? A certain hazy memory struck me. What is it? It's like trying to remember a melody from a song you've long forgotten. The more you try to remember, you imagine instead the melody of a different song. Scotland. Our gang. That was 15 years ago. What happened back then? And here I started to remember. I rushed to the kitchen and paced the floor, trying to jog my memory. And the memory started unraveling.